Okay, this keeps going around and around in my spirit, so I'm going to try to say this as fast as I can. So, if you've been on my page at any point, you know that I teach about soul ties and the importance of breaking those ties and cutting energetic cords. And I teach from a biblical perspective. And so this morning I was in prayer and the Lord began to show me something that I had not considered. And so, the Bible tells us that we need to be as wise as serpents, as gentle as a dove, but we also need to be aware of the schemes of the enemy. And so what does this have to do with soul ties? Well, let me tell you, if you have an unholy soul tie through sex or any other method, if you want to know what those are, take my class. But if you have those and you've never broken those, you really need to break those soul ties so that you can begin to live your best life and not be held back by what everybody else that you're connected to might be doing in their lives. Okay? So here's what the Lord showed me. That when we are in warfare, it is necessary. So in war, for example, that we need alliances. And so as a believer, we form alliances with heaven, the angels, the great clouds of witnesses, the Lord. So that's why the Bible tells us there are more with us than with them. But there is also, that's a holy alliance. There's also such a thing as an unholy alliance. So let's say that you're married and maybe you're the more spiritual spouse. And maybe you have a calling or an anointing or you're in ministry. So you are a target for the kingdom of darkness, right? If your spouse does not practice their prayer rituals, if they're not praying, if they're not connecting to God, reading the word, those things that we need to do as believers to make sure that we're prepared for whatever is going to come, that means that they are weaker, right? And so what the enemy will do is form an unholy or attempt to form an unholy alliance with your spouse to get to you. Hurting the spouse too, but mostly to get to you. And so how is this done? So the enemy will use a person, someone that they're influencing. They may not be, possessed, but they could be, but someone that they're influencing to get to your spouse. Now, usually this will be sexually, because spirits are transferred through sex. So if they can get your spouse to fall into sexual sin through an unholy alliance, they are tapping into your energy and your spirit through your spouse. And like for part 2.